the Sports Show. I hope you can stay with us for the next hour. We've got plenty coming up on the Sports Show. And today, the full panel. Britt Elmsley, of course, our Olympic swimmer, joins us. Barry Curtin, previous Redbacks cricket superstar, joins us. Ladies, gentlemen, good to see you both.
Hi, mate. Nice to see you as well.
Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you.
Good to be back. Yes, you've been busy covering the swimming, haven't you?
Yeah, the gang's all here.
Yeah,
busy 2 days, commentating and delivering some swimming.
Yeah,
so
how was it? How was the event?
Full on, but yeah, it was fun. The Age Nationals Championships out of the SA Aquatic and Leisure Centre.
Yep.
Yeah, so good for the swimming world. We're back in action, as is most sports, which is great to see.
Now, while you've been away, we've introduced a new segment to this. We start with all the good news instead of all the stuff where people are throwing stuff at sport. But before we get started, I went to a lunch on Thursday. Phil DePinto, Universal Motor Auctions, his dad Mario owns it, and his brother down there, had a lunch. Yeah. And selected guests got invited. So obviously they were short and I got an invite.
No, you're a pretty big deal.
Thanks very much, Britt, you're a star. Sam Kekovich came in and spoke. Yeah. If you want a speaker that's funny, he is the best. Without a doubt, he was brilliant. Yeah, but here's the list of some of the people out there. Cornsey was there, Neil Curley was there, KG was there, Mark Soderstrom turned up, Brent Felice from Coopers was there, Jacob Surgeon was there. There were coaches of high. It was just the best day you could possibly go to. Yeah. But you know when you go to a function like that, and they say just turn up, you can't just turn up. So you've got to turn up with something, a bottle of wine or some beers or something. So I get a bottle of red, and I don't drink, so I have to ask the bloke at the thing what a good bottle of red is. And, no, I need a really good bottle, mate. Yeah. He goes, this one will be okay. So it was about $100 bottle. I thought, oh, that'll get me in. $100 bottle, like $2.50 for a lemonade. So I turned up and Phil took it and he's very gracious. Oh, that's fantastic. You don't have to bring anything. They're drinking $300 bottles of red, mate. I'm going, there's a roast spit. This is the best function that you could ever go. And the store is fantastic.
Where was it?
At Phil's place. It was a great day. Anyway, that got off to a good start. The good news, what's happened this week? Dusty Martin back training with Richmond. So he obviously had that month off with some issues. We won't go into his personal stuff, but great to see Dusty back.
Well, it is because he's one of the best players in the competition, and people want to see the best players play. And good to see him back. I heard that earlier in the week that he was that he'd been back with Richmond, and they were all very, very happy to see him, which they would be.
Well, they were surprised. They didn't know he was coming, so it was a bit of a surprise that he was there as well.
No, the best players, you want them out in the park. Yep. And good to see him back.
All right, Charlie Dixon, I'll ask you this one because we'll get to know by 4 or 5 weeks. He's announced that Charlie will be back, which is great news for the Power, of course, because he had that ankle operation pre-season, then he had to have another clean-up a few weeks back. So they've put a date to it now, 4 or 5 weeks, so it'll be great to see Charlie back.
Yeah, hopefully he can provide his impact for the team, and they've obviously gotten the win finally, and hopefully they can continue to build into the season. He'll be a presence back on the field, which is great for Port.
That's just sharpening up the elbows on you. They finally got a win. All right, 84,205 fans in for Essendon v Collingwood at the G. Biggest crowd since 2019, of course, grand final, so pre-COVID. So it's great footy. The crowd's slowly coming back.
Well, it's an Anzac Day game that is a traditional game that not all Essendon and Collingwood supporters go to. A lot of other supporters go to that game. They say it's the biggest game outside of the AFL Grand Final. Yeah, it's a tradition. It's something that Melburnians like to go to anyway. Regardless whether they're Essendon or Collingwood fans, they'll turn up. So it was always going to be a great crowd. I worry a little bit for the AFL. I mean, it's all right to say they had 84,000 there, but I don't think the crowds have been as good. And I know COVID is a great reason that the crowds aren't all that good, but I'd be slightly concerned about the numbers at quite a few games. There.
All right. Okay.
Just a little bit. Trying to keep it positive.
Just a tiny bit, Phil.
Stay positive, mate. We stay positive.
Well,
this one, Carlos Alcaraz, 18 years old, becomes the youngest men's top 10 player since Rafael Nadal. Yeah. So Rafael Nadal was 17 years ago when he became the youngest player to reach number 9 when he won the Barcelona Open. So Alcaraz is 18 years, 11 months, 20 days. He's the 9th youngest player to reach the men's top 10 since Rafa did it. So Nadal was 1 month younger when he did it. So I wanted to ask you this. Oh, well, the youngest ever to get into the top 10 since they started keeping the records in 1973 was Aaron Crickstein. Yeah. So he was in August of 84, 17 years, 11 days.
In the top 10?
In the top 10. All right. That's youngest swimmer to ever win gold at the Olympics.
Oh.
I think it was a Japanese.
Ah, you're very good. It was Kyoko Iwasaki. You're right. She was 14 years and 6 days. She won gold in Barcelona.
Incredible.
Youngest cricketer to play Test cricket.
It's a Hanif. It's a Muhammad.
Mustaq Muhammad. You are quite right, mate.
Yeah, it's been around about 15. I think Hanif was 15 as well.
15
but the other bloke
years old, 124 days.
Is that right? 15 years and 124 days. What was I doing at 15 years and 124 days?
What you say? We may have to meet you out of striking distance, mate, at this pace. So,
but that's incredible. That is incredible. But in fairness too, both those gentlemen I just talked about, they were fantastic players. In fact, I think Hanif Muhammad may have made a 400 in one of his innings very early in his time as well. Not as a 15-year-old, but maybe 17.
17, I reckon. I saw that when I was looking at that.
I'm sure he made 400 and something.
Who was the youngest swimmer that you ever swam against? Can you remember? Australian?
Well, they put in to compete at the Olympics, you had to be 15 or over because you'd get these countries that would submit 14-year-olds because. So I think you're still so young.
Yeah,
like
15.
It's great to see young ones coming through, and I think it's great for the sport, country to country. But I think you're still a baby. It's like to win an Olympic gold medal at 14 years old, like that changes your whole life. So. Yeah,
you wouldn't know it at 14, though. You wouldn't. It wouldn't sink in at 14.
You'd be thinking it's pretty easy.
Well, that's what I mean.
Youngest cricketer. Who would have been
that I
played with or against?
Well, I think my brother. To be honest, as an A-grade cricketer, I think he was only 13.
Wow.
When he played A-grade, I'm pretty sure he played against Woodville when he was 13 years old as an A-grader. So. I'm pretty sure he would have been 13 or 14. He'd be the youngest easily that I ever played with. Although no, I played with an 11-year-old. Okay. But that was in the under 12s.
Last one. We'll get off all the good news. But who was the oldest that you then played against?
Well.
The same for you. I'm going to ask you the same question. I'm going to overthink
the oldest that I played with or against.
With or against?
It'd have to be Sam Trimble. The Queensland captain. I think he was 104. Well, that's how we got around anyway. Okay. Do you know, can I digress just slightly with Sam Trimble?
Absolutely.
My first game was against Queensland, and Sam Trimble was the captain of Queensland. And when I came out to bat, and I took guard, they were there because they just got a wicket. There was a whole team there. And he turned around and he looked at me. This is Sam Trimble. And he looked over my shoulder at the scoreboard, Adelaide Oval. And he looked up and he went, "Curtin." And he turned to his team and he said, "Has anybody ever heard of this fella?" And they all went, "No, never heard of him, no, never heard of him." And he looked at me and said, "Are you at the right ground, son?" Now, I'd never heard sledging before or whatever. It was the first time I'd ever been sledged. And I thought, what have I done? Well, it was a brutal game back then.
Did it work?
No, it didn't work. But I mean, it just shocked me that would, I'm just waiting to get on with it. Jumpy first game and never heard of me. Asked me what at the right ground. Very good, Sam.
This is Adelaide Oval, wasn't it?
That's what he said. You're the right ground, son.
All right, for you.
Well, most swimmers don't really make it over 30. So, probably... I don't know, 32, 33.
Well, okay. No, that's not old, is it?
You're not. But I retired at 24. And I'd been in the game for, 13 years.
Well, there you go.
Swimming since you were 13 on Australian junior teams.
What about you? You would have played against some old basketballers. Some
oldest. Kareem was probably the oldest I played against. I think he was 44 when he came out here and played on a tour that came out with him. He retired at 42, so he would have been the oldest.
And kids? Young one? You had a real young one?
Probably Andrew Gaze was probably the youngest. I reckon he was about 15, 16 when he started in the NBL.
And he was always pretty good.
Yeah, he was always going to be really good. So.
Well, you two. Sorry, Britt. You two. You and I
was one of the youngest.
And Gazy were two of the best three-point shooters that I ever
very
saw.
Kind of you, mate.
No, I'm serious. I mean, I was never a big basketball fan, but I would watch the basketball to watch you.
Yeah.
And I'm serious about that. I'll watch
now you get to sit next to it.
There are certain sports you watch where
certain players.
You're watching because of him. And I used to watch because of Phil Smine.
Well, we'll come back to that. Not talking about Mary. I'll slip you that extra money payday under the table coming your way. Very kind of you. But we need to get over to Jamie now for the sporting news. Jamie?
Thank you, guys. Let's get into it. In the netball, the selection of who will represent the Diamonds in this year's Commonwealth Games has caused controversy. Last Thursday, all 15 players that competed in last January's Quad Series were selected for the Diamond Squad, which is made up of 18 members. Australian selectors have placed high value on incumbency, with head coach Stacey Marinkovic coming under fire after the exclusion of Kelsey Brown, Maddie Proud and Kim Ravalian. Marinkovic said the depth and talent of the players meant it was extremely difficult for others who were on the cusp of selection to force their way in. She will have 8 days with her players in Australia at the end of the Super Netball season and another 8 in England prior to the start of the games in July. In the SANFL, Adelaide managed to finish with a 25-point lead over Central District in last weekend's Anzac round. It wasn't looking too good for the Crows until they scored in the third term, gaining the lead and propelling them to their 101 to 76-point win. North Adelaide was triumphant over South, who showed signs of a comeback in the second half. However, signs weren't enough to make up for the first half domination of the Roosters, who finished in the lead 59 to 48. Norwood dominated West Adelaide 127 to 59, with Jacob Kennelly, Cam Tahini and Ben Jarvis managing to score in the fourth term. At Alberton, Port Adelaide lost to Sturt, who capped their game off 63 to 50, despite missing players due to COVID-19. Speaking of Port Adelaide, they finally managed to win a game in round 6 of the AFL. It was a good one too, as they beat West Coast by 84 points. With 16 games left to play, this was the hope that Power fans were looking for. With a final score of 117 to 33, Jeremy Finlayson played a part in boosting the numbers, managing to score 5 goals. Todd Marshall achieved a new career high, also scoring 5 goals, 3 of which were in the intense second term. The Guernseys worn by the players have been put up for auction, with all proceeds going towards the RSL's Anzac appeal. Port will take on St Kilda tomorrow in Queensland at 5 to 7. Swimming Australia has threatened to take legal action after the political group Advance included swimming athletes in their campaign against transgender athletes in sport. The group recently launched a series of billboard ads in critique of Zali Steggall's support for transgender competitors. Although Dawn Fraser, Eamon McKeon and Emily Seabohm hadn't explicitly agreed to take part in the campaign, they were used in the group's social media and billboard graphics. Swimming Australia CEO Eugenie Buckley said the body strongly condemns the use of the athletes' imagery in the ads and said Advance had never sought or received permission to use them. In the NBA, Australia's own Ben Simmons has come under fire for his lack of contribution to the season. He hasn't played in over 10 months due to a back injury and mental health struggles, yet he was recently slammed on live television by American sports analyst Stephen Smith, who called his situation pathetic. The statement came after Simmons was ruled out of Brooklyn's Game 4 first-round clash against the Boston Celtics. Simmons was seen practicing 4-on-4 drills with teammates this week. However, there have been no reports as to when or if he will return to this year's NBA season. That's all I've got for you this week. I'm Jamie Tenikoff. We've got more on the way after the break.